Hey everyone, my name is Alexa and welcome to my homestead here in Northeast Ohio. We are living in Zone 6A, about 3 miles off of the Lake Erie coast in northern Ohio. Today we are going to do what is probably going to be the last garden tour of 2022. It is early November, November 7th, and it has been a beautiful last few days, really unseasonable temperatures. It's been in the 70s in Northeast Ohio in November, which is pretty uncommon. October we had lots of rain and really cold days. We had our first frost. It was a light freeze, so not too much damage, but we are gonna have another couple really beautiful days and then it's gonna start getting cold and temperatures are just gonna continue to fall throughout the month. So I wanted to take this opportunity while I had some beautiful sunshine right now this afternoon to take you through the garden, show you what everything's looking like at the end of the season and what I've got going for my fall gardens. I've got lots of food still growing even in November. Show you all the things that I've got in the ground that's gonna come up next spring and feed us for 2023. Press that subscribe button to be notified when new videos are posted. I am a full-time working mom and wife, so I have a full-time job, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I've got 2 kids and I'm involved in my church. My husband and I are very close and we value our date nights and things together. So the homestead world that we have created is very much in balance with that lifestyle that we live, and my goal on sharing all of this with you all is how to have a homestead, how to have a garden, how to raise some animals when you are living a very busy life that has all this other stuff going on. You absolutely can do it. It does take in some work and time, but I want to inspire you and show you what I do, and maybe you can get some ideas, because I know a lot of us out there, we're all doing the same thing. We have to work full-time jobs, we have kids, we have activities, we have priorities, and our health kind of suffers a lot of the time because we're not making that time for our health and for our nutrition and growing our own food and stewarding our land. So I want to show you how you can do that in a very busy world, and that's what my channel is all about. So let's go ahead and get into this garden tour. Okay, so first thing I want to show you is this garden bed behind me. Now this is a raised bed garden. It's 4 by 8, and we had built this for our strawberry patch initially. I had strawberries in here for 3 years, and it's right by our house. It's just really literally off my back door. And the purpose of the strawberries being here is so they were easy to pick and we could get our strawberries and watch for birds and pests and keep those away. But what I realized, it was wasted space that we were only getting strawberries in June, and the rest of the year this garden bed was not really being used, was holding strawberries that weren't doing anything. So we took the strawberries out and we rehomed them somewhere else, and we have converted this bed into the all season, all winter, all year round greens bed. So it's right off the back door of the house, and we can come out here now and harvest our greens hopefully year round. So let me show you how this works. So we were able to make a lid over this garden bed. So once we get the lid open, you can see it is this polycarbonate plastic. It's just, you can find this at Lowe's. I think we got this paneling at Lowe's. It allows sunlight to go into this bed, and inside we have all kinds of beautiful greens. I have some bok choy back here, lettuces, I've got kale, I have radish growing in here. I even have some basil that is still alive. This is my last living basil plant. And we have all kinds of spinaches down there growing. I have mustard greens, I have Swiss chard. So these are all of the greens. So we have this frame that sits on top of the raised bed, and the whole frame itself will actually tip up and back. So in the springtime, when it's time to refresh this bed, instead of me opening the top lid and reaching down and doing all that kind of stuff, which is kind of hard, I got a bend in there, this whole frame can lift backwards. And then I can get in there, plant, do what I gotta do, and then close it back up. We put some chicken wire around the outside to keep the chickens out when it was still warm. And once it started to get cool and we were having some close to freezing temperatures at night, I just found some plastic, clear though, so light can come in, and I stapled that around the whole outside. So you can see how this is nice and buttoned up, and we're gonna have greens for quite some time because this is gonna keep all the plants inside there warm. It's gonna keep the frost off of them, so we haven't really had any hard freezes yet, but you know, lettuce and kale and cabbage and all those things, those are pretty frost hardy. They can withstand some cold temperatures. So I am really anticipating all the greens living pretty good until about January, and January is when we start to see those really low temperatures and the negatives, and our big snowfalls occur always in January and February. And then once March comes around and things start to warm up a little bit, those greens are going to start growing again. I'm going to have a head start and have fresh greens even sooner. So I'm really excited. So I've been working on a project for the last couple weeks, transplanting the strawberries that I had in my in-ground garden into these 5-gallon buckets. I took a hole saw and drilled about 28 holes in each of these buckets here and transplanted my strawberries and put them all around the outer of them and on the top. And now I can move these buckets wherever I want and relocate them. I can never find a good spot for my strawberries to live, so I figure I need to make them mobile. And this way they can grow vertically, I can save more space, grow more in a smaller footprint, and be able to move them wherever I want. So I'm seeing how these strawberries do, making sure that this holds up well over winter, and getting some great ever-bearing strawberries next year. Back here behind me is our 2023 garlic patch. I put this patch of garlic in about a month ago now. I can't believe it's been that long already. And we planted just over 600 garlic cloves. So I'm anticipating a very large harvest of garlic next year, about 600 bulbs as long as everything grows and comes up. I have 4 different varieties: Music, White German, Amish Rocambole, and Persian Star. They are packed in this space. I have a video that I did all about the planting garlic, how we planted the garlic. I will link it down below, and check that out for garlic growing tips. If you are in a northern climate like I am, you can still plant your garlic as long as the ground is still workable. So as long as your ground hasn't frozen and you can, you know, dig it up a little bit, you can still plant your garlic. And you might have a harder time finding seed garlic from nurseries, but you can go to your local grocery store. If you can find some organic garlic, you can even try planting that, and you probably will have some success. So it's not too late to plant your garlic. I have planted tulip bulbs in December before, and tulips and garlic are, you know, kind of similar. And the tulips that I planted, the bulbs in December, they still came up in the springtime in April and bloomed, and they were good. So any kind of bulb, it just needs a period of cold stratification. That means it needs a time where it can be very cold temperatures. Garlic likes that, especially hardneck garlic. That's what I'm growing here. My goal is to double my garlic crop every single year. So in those other videos I have about garlic, I do talk about that and how I'm doing that. So be sure to check those out. But I did just get this whole patch mulched with leaves. So I've got really beautiful maple trees all around me. They dump tons and tons and tons of leaves. So instead of buying any kind of mulch, I'm using my resources that I have on my homestead here that are free, and threw all those in there. That will mulch well. It'll keep everything nice and protected, and in the springtime we will see nice green shoots come up and have lots of garlic. So as you can probably hear, I have a lot of commotion in my garden right now, and those are all of my chickens. Weeks ago, I opened the doors and let the chickens come into the garden, and they have been having a blast. They have been scratching through all the plants that have been spent. They are eating seeds and bugs, and they're dropping the manure everywhere, and they're tilling it in as they're scratching. I have some pretty beautiful birds that I get to watch and listen to in my garden, and they're really nice garden companions. And despite their presence, I still have quite a bit of food growing out there, so I want to show you that now. The last week has been especially exciting on our homestead because all of our new chickens that we got in 2022, all the roosters have started crowing, and we didn't realize how many roosters we actually had. Of all of our chickens we got this year, we have 4 new roosters, which we only had 1. And so last week everyone found their voice, and it was really exciting every day coming out and hearing a new sound. And we're like, oh my gosh, another one? Yeah, we have 4 roosters. I don't really know what we're gonna do with them next year. Still do have 9 hens, which is good, but we wanted more than that. So I'm not sure if we're gonna keep all those roosters next year. We're gonna wait and see. But for now, it's kind of fun and lively to hear them chattering in the garden. So we do have some really beautiful cosmos that took a long time to grow, but they've been loving the cold weather. I didn't realize how much cosmos like the cooler weather. They did not grow all summer, and then bam, we've got cosmos. So this area is kind of messy. I had all these frost fabrics and plastic covering my fence to keep my tromboncino squash here alive while they ripened. We did have some pretty frosty nights, and this kept the plant safe. Now our temperatures have stayed above, which is why I haven't been really messing with all this too much. It doesn't look very good, but they're still green. I mean, they're starting to get a little bit brown. I mean, these need to be the color of a butternut squash before they're ready for harvest. But I've been watching the weather, and I will pull them probably next week. It's gonna start getting cold, and I did see a 28-degree night like a week from now. So I'm gonna give these another week, and then they're probably gonna get picked. We've got 3 more over here, so that's a lot of squash that I really want to harvest. The benefit of letting it ripen on the vine is they're going to last longer in storage. Now, I have a lot of tromboncino squash in my house already, so to add 5 more is going to be even more squash, which is great because I want to have that squash through the winter. I want to have that squash until this time next year when I'm getting more squash. So it's important to me to let it ripen on the vine as long as possible. I'll take it in. It will continue to ripen inside. It just may not last as long if I had let it ripen on the vine, but you know, I'm not gonna let it freeze because that will ruin it. So I've got some beautiful snow peas growing on this trellis here. I see my first flower, which is really exciting. So this little flower here will turn into a pea pod for eating. Snow peas like cold weather, so they've been doing really good in this. So over in the circle bed, I still have lots of Swiss chard that the birds are leaving alone. They don't really seem to care for it, so the Swiss chard is still growing good. The kale, like right there's kale, and I've got kale here. The birds have been picking at the kale, so there's not much of the kale left, but they don't really want to eat the chard, which, you know, that's good to know. If you want a green that you can keep around your chickens. At least mine don't like chard. But they have been super busy finding all kinds of stuff in here. And then on this trellis, I've got more peas growing up on this trellis too. Those ones are looking really nice. So back here are my 3 hoop tunnels, and inside I'm growing more crops for the fall. So we have cabbages here that are just starting to get the centers here for forming heads. So I'm really hoping that we get these cabbages before any hard frosts come. Oh, looks like I have a broccoli plant in here too. Broccoli plant. These have been protected because of the frost fabric that I have covering this tunnel here. Cabbage like cool weather anyways, but this is just another layer of protection. So in this next one, I have some kohlrabi, and all of those are looking pretty good. This is a very beautiful colored plant. I've had this in here since the springtime, so this got put in like March, and that has been growing here all year. So this is a nice big plant that we pick off of quite a bit. And I've got a couple of Brussels sprout plants down here. Looks like this one is doing good. The rest of them are still pretty small, so those might go dormant through the winter. I don't know that we're gonna get any Brussels sprouts on these. This is another type of green. It's called radicchio. I'll put the name here. And I've been trying to grow these all year. They kind of stopped growing in the summer when it got too hot, and they started to regrow again. But it will kind of form a head like a romaine lettuce, but it's got a very bitter taste. So this is a type of green that you would definitely want to cook. You don't want to eat it raw. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's starting to form a head here, and it's really pretty. And then I think I have some Red Express cabbages growing in here. With these hoop tunnels that I have, I can still grow food. It's November, and that food's gonna keep growing into December and, you know, maybe part of January as well. Now, when those hard freezes do come, the plant will probably die back. I also experienced last year when I did some overwinter gardening in my greenhouse, all the plants, they didn't die, they actually just went dormant. So as long as they were in there and covered, they lived, and then in the springtime they started growing again. So if anything, all those plants, especially the small ones, they may just go dormant and then wake up again in the spring and start growing, which is fine too. These chickens. Well, on the trellises back here, I have loofah gourd growing. You can see all the leaves have pretty much died. They've gotten cold. But the loofahs have been fine. I think I'll probably take these in next week as well once we're seeing those real low temperatures, because these loofahs are just, they're gonna freeze. They're not ripe just yet, they're still green, but I will take them in and let them continue to ripen inside until they can peel that outer layer off. Back half of the garden, there's really nothing back there. I do have some strawberry plants in here still that that's what I'm working on transplanting, is getting the strawberry plants out of the in-ground garden, because this was just a mess all year. It's full of weeds, and I don't ever want to do in-ground strawberries again. So I'm taking those out and putting them in the buckets. I have this half left to do. Here where all the tomatoes were, you can see that is all cleaned out. In here, I still got peppers growing. The peppers have not died yet. We've got a couple still there. Got a lot on this one still. These are like little mini red bell peppers, although they're still green. And then this is a jalapeno plant, and there are several jalapenos, so I'm gonna have to come harvest those. But we still have really beautiful flowers, marigolds, chickens having dust bathing in there. So a lot of colors still in the garden. And I had carrots growing in here, but they did not seem to do well. They didn't take off, so I don't know. These are probably done growing, although I do have this one. I bet there's some good carrots down there. And I still have carrots all in this bed too. Chickens. Over here in this bed is a cover crop. And back here next to the greenhouse. So this is where I had my potatoes. And in here I had sunflowers and sweet potatoes and some other things, but nothing really did very good in this space this year. And that is why I put down a cover crop. So the cover crop is acting as a green fertilizer for my soil. It's got 5 different types of grasses in it. In the springtime it will start growing again, and that's when I have to start watching it. If it starts to look like it's getting ready to flower, it can flower, but I don't want those flowers to dry out and go to seed, because that'll just make a mess all over my garden, which I don't want. But when it comes time for planting, I will cut all that back and dig the greens back into the soil, and that is my green fertilizer. And so I'm really hoping to boost my soil in these spaces back here too, where the potatoes were, to just have more healthier soil for next year. Okay, and the last thing that I wanted to show you is what's going on in the chicken coop greenhouse, because the chickens have not moved in yet, but they will be soon. Okay, so we are in tropical paradise still in here. What is my temperature? It's 55 degrees in here right now. Got beautiful tomatoes ripening on November 7th, so that's amazing. Look at that one, ready for picking. Some down there. We've got peppers. Lots of green ones still. Oh, wow. Big. Chickens would like to come in. So all the plants in this greenhouse were planted in May. So these plants are all like 5 months old from planting. I would have started everything from seed like back in March. So these plants have been around for a minute and they are doing really good. All my tomato plants in the outside garden have been long gone for over a month now. These ones are still setting flowers. Look at these little overachievers. Little overachievers. And the plants are starting to get leaf spot and blight, which is to be expected, especially this time of year, but they just started getting sick very recently when the temperature started to drop. And I am just so impressed how well this greenhouse has kept these plants alive for so long. I've never had tomatoes this late in the season, so it's really cool to keep getting fresh tomatoes even now, and a manageable amount. So how many I'm getting now, I'm not like cooking a lot with, but I'm able to eat fresh without them going bad. So this has been really cool, a really great experiment. I do plan by this weekend having this whole space cleared out. I'm gonna pick all of the fruits that are left and get my chickens back in here, getting their house set up and their nesting boxes and everything for winter, because this is their winter structure. We started that last year with them when we built it, and it worked out really well. I have several videos on how we put this greenhouse together and just how the chickens did through the winter and then the next spring. So I will link all of those too. Definitely check them out. If you have any bit of land that you can make a small greenhouse like this, I would highly recommend you do it, especially for that dual purpose of keeping chickens in it through the winter. Now, we're not heating this structure at all, but it stayed warm enough. It was a windbreak for the birds, and so they were fine. But I'm not going to be able to plant a whole lot in here through the winter. Just like more like I could do more greens, you know, the lettuces, spinach, kale, that kind of thing. But I'm doing that elsewhere on my property, so I don't need to use this greenhouse for that. I prefer to use it for our chickens. Yeah, really happy with how it all worked out. So I'm excited to get them back in here. I think they'll appreciate more space that's a little bit warmer than where they're sleeping now for their summer home, but it's pretty darn cool. Peppers. This little bee didn't make it. That's the easy little bee. So I thank you for walking around the garden with me this evening. It is starting to get dark already. It's not even that late. and it's starting to get dark, so we're gonna wrap this one up. Thank you so much for sticking with me this gardening season, for checking out all of the garden tour videos. If you've missed any of them, I do have 2022 garden tour playlists, so you can go back and watch from the beginning of the season till now on how the garden did and how it grew and all the changes that happened throughout the way. So go back and check those out, and if you've already watched them, you know, feel free to watch them again this winter when everything is cold and snowy and there's not a whole lot of green happening. I always like to watch some videos through the winter time to kind of boost my spirits and get me excited about the next growing season, start getting the ideas flowing about what I want to grow, how I want to lay things out, and all of that. So the next couple videos I have planned to work on through the fall and winter. I will be doing another tomato taste test review video for 2022. I had 22 tomato varieties, so I will go over all of those. I've got lots of footage to go through and put that video together. But while I'm working on that, you can go and check out the 2021 tomato taste test review. I've got 4 different videos going over 40 different varieties of tomatoes. So that was a lot of fun and has gotten a lot of good feedback. So if you want to start thinking about what kind of tomatoes you want to grow, definitely go check out that video and subscribe now so you can see when the 2022 version comes out. And so I'm going to use the next couple months for rest and relaxation. I will be putting out some other videos here and there. If there's any certain topics that you would like to see covered in the future, please leave a comment below. Let me know what your questions are, what you would like to see, what would you like to know. You know, does something like a pantry tour excite you? Do you want to see like what I've been working on with all of my canning and preserving efforts this year? How we're storing all of our food. My house was built in 1850 and I don't have a whole lot of storage space. They didn't believe in closets back in that time. And I have a very small kitchen, so we've made things work for us. So if you're interested in seeing some of that, I will be happy to share it. Just let me know in the comments. If you are a beginner gardener, if you want to learn more about beginner gardening, what to do, how to get started, I do have a couple videos that I have put on my beginner garden series playlist, and I will keep working through those next year as well. So I would appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to my channel. I am trying to get to my goal by the end of this year of reaching 1,000 subscribers. So this is my 3rd year on YouTube. I would really love to hit that 1,000 subscriber goal, and I can only do it with your support. So please like this video, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. So do something you love today, everybody. I appreciate you all so much. Bye.